Now we should be live on the other stuff.
Yay! Well, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are Dragonmount,
Yes,
and
we
we're
are.
here today to discuss
Hello.
with a guest.
Hello, hello.
Oh,
Let me know. You keep going, Kitty. Just
oh,
anyone watching, just let me know if you can't hear me. I'm not sure if everything is coming through. Uh, but go ahead, Kitty. You introduce
oh no,
us.
I was gonna say you tell us about our guest this
Oh, okay. So
session.
yes, Gerald L. Coleman. He's a good. I think I could. It's fair to say he's a friend of mine. He's a nice guy. I met him actually at JordanCon. He is one of our guest authors often at JordanCon. He's going to be a guest again this year. So if you are going to JordanCon, go and check him out. I'm sure he'll be on a million panels, and you'll probably be able to find him in the gaming room, either playing D&D or board gaming late into the evening, and if not there, the bar, as per usual. He his books are urban fantasy. I think he's dipping into the high fantasy stuff too soon, but I'll let him plug himself when he comes in. We wanted to have him. I wanted to have him on the show for the full season recap that we're doing, because he is not as of an enthusiastic fan of the Wheel of Time adaptation as we are. So I figured it would be good to have a slightly, that might be him telling me that he's on his way. Yes, it is. Okay. So he might be like a slightly dissenting opinion. It might be fun to have that kind of, on with us, since, we love the show so much. so, how was your holiday, Kitty? I know you were busy, but
Uh,
we had a couple
I
weeks off, so feel
That's true.
refreshed.
No. Sorry, I work every holiday,
Oh,
and I make 30% of my income in 6 weeks.
oof.
So, for those of you who don't know, that besides an actor, I'm also a server at a high-end fine dining restaurant in Los Angeles,
You're also
as
a
well as
chef.
a chef. Yes, and I also took on event management for the holiday season.
Ooh.
So, and being in the public so much, even though I did as much as I could, my husband and I caught COVID.
Ah.
Yeah, so that was New Year's Day was the positive test,
Ooh.
and I am vaccinated and boosted and flusted. So luckily, I didn't have a lot of symptoms, but I was still on the couch, both of us, which I'm not going to say I was grateful for, but after the holiday season, oh
Yeah.
no, we had to sit on the couch and eat chips and catch up on The Witcher. Tragedy.
Yeah, a little bit of time is nice at
It,
least. Yeah.
we got to see a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows that have been building up because we've had no time because he is also a chef.
Yes, yes. So now you finally get to catch up, which is,
Yeah.
I guess that's nice.
But no, it was good. Like, I am not complaining. I am always grateful. But I'm glad the holidays are done.
Yeah, fair enough.
How about you?
Yeah, we were good, family and stuff. We caught up on a lot of shows too. I watched The Witcher, honestly, and if anyone watching it, let us know. I'm curious to see what you think, if other people feel the same. I said this, and my wife was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? I couldn't put my finger on it. That is how I feel too." And I wasn't that impressed with this season of The Witcher. Like, I really love Henry Cavill, and I love Geralt, and I like their storyline with Ciri. Like, I like all the stuff revolving around Ciri and Geralt, but the other characters are just. It's like all the other. It's not even the characters, because the characters are cool. It's the other B plots are just. They're not
Did
that
you read the
interesting.
books or play the games?
I played the games. I played the
See,
games. I
neither of
read
us
the
have
first
any
book.
background of it. So
Okay.
we have no idea. And so we're both loving it. But it's yet again, like, as coming into the Wheel of Time as a non-reader, we came into The Witcher as a non what's going on.
That's
I
fair.
think my favorite thing, though, is Henry.
Yeah.
Outside of this show,
Oh,
he
forget
is.
it.
Oh my God. I read
I love
something.
him. I love him so
Somebody
much.
called him a what was it, like a lawful good water cracker?
That's good.
And I was like, oh my God, yes, because I have absolutely zero attraction to him. I'm like, oh, you look like a nice guy that I
Yeah,
would trust to like get my mail if
yeah,
I'm out of town. But like when he's in The Witcher, I'm like, hello,
yeah.
my clothes fell off.
He's also like a super nerd. Like
Yes, which is
he,
incredibly sexy, but like
yeah.
he grinds up good,
Oh
I think
yeah.
is the term.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
so good.
And
So
did
grimy.
you actually see he did an interview. He was talking about how the costuming people on The Witcher hate him because uh, he would always be like, "No, I'm not dirty enough," and then he would like go outside the building where they were filming and like roll around in the dirt and stuff and like rub mud all over him. He'd be like, "All right, yeah, no,
Uh,
that's good."
I love him, but I
Yeah,
prefer him in character,
that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. No, well,
aesthetically. Aesthetically,
my issue with the show is less like comparing. That's not a word. Comparing it from the books or the game to the show story. It's more just it feels like it's flat. Like it's just like I don't care. Like I'm not drawn into the B plots. Like the B plots, I'm just like
okay,
I'm always just like, oh, when is Siri and Henry Cable coming back on screen? That's like I just
that's fair.
want to. That's how I feel with the B plots. Like, what's her name? Yennefer's B plot is good, but it's still not even that entertaining to me, honestly. Like, and then the
I,
whole elf stuff has been not the greatest.
I mean, I much prefer Yennefer's plot for this season versus last season, especially just because the whole I need a baby to complete myself really. There's some aspects of Hollywood that need to die off a lot faster than they are,
Yeah, that's fair.
especially like as an example, I don't know, spoilers for Big Bang, but how Penny was all like, oh, like I really don't want a child, I don't want a child, and like giving all the great arguments. They do that for a long time, and suddenly at the end, of course she's pregnant
Yeah.
and like happy about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, no.
Like, oh, she realized finally that she really did want a
No,
kid.
there are some aspects of Hollywood that are still grounded in old white men,
Yeah.
like stereotypical, a lot of commercials. Couples, you will not see a couple living in a household without wedding rings.
Yeah.
That is also slowly changing. But in general, that's you always have to look like a unit, a family unit.
Yeah.
Sorry, now I'm going on a rant on Hollywood.
No, it's fine. No,
I'm grateful for Hollywood. I get money from them.
that's fair. I completely agree. It's nice to see them finally like going into to for diversity and representation on screen of different types of relationships and stuff like that. Like it's like you almost never heard like go back even like 6 years ago. You never heard them say the word partner on screen. Like it
Yeah,
was
unless it
always
was a Western.
yeah, it was always girlfriend, wife. Yeah, it's true. It was wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Like husband. Like it was never partner. Now you hear that a lot more now. It's
No,
much more
there's been
prevalent.
amazing, wonderful changes,
Yeah,
and
just subtle
just
things
well, stuff that actually reflects the reality of society. Like
yeah,
even in the 1950s, it wasn't as 1950s as it seems like
yeah,
from TV.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Did Gerald said that he was going to be a couple of minutes late, but he is more than a couple of minutes late now. And
That's right. Should I write him up?
yeah,
Call his mom?
yeah, two demerits. He's getting two demerits. I'll tell him he owes me a drink at JordanCon, and you're coming, right?
And me?
Yeah, I was about,
Yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yes.
yes.
Got my tickets, got my room. We're, I don't know, just seeing health wise how all of this pans
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Because the closer it gets, I'm like, oh,
I guess we could do a little JordanCon update since we have like a minute or two to fill here. I'm just checking to see if he no I have the thing. Okay, I'm pretty sure I turned the waiting room off because that thing is annoying. But anyway, so as Kitty just said, so we don't have as of right now the most up to date JordanCon COVID precautionary stuff is on our website. That's jordancon.org. So if you go there and go into the FAQ, it has it listed.
I did check it yesterday. As of yesterday, it is either you need to be vaccinated or you need to have a negative COVID test. I don't remember if there was a timeline for when that COVID test had to have been taken.
There isn't
And
yet.
I don't, okay. And I don't know if it's a specific type of COVID test. I don't know if they're allowing rapid tests or antigen or if
No.
it's PCR.
That's the issue right now is the availability of the tests
Yes.
as we get closer to the
Yeah.
convention. So what I would say is just the COVID precaution stuffs aren't going to be too much less than what they are currently listed as. It's going to reflect whatever the laws of Georgia enforce.
Masks.
Yeah, like, well, also, like, are we allowed to ask for vaccines? Because, if they make it illegal
Yeah,
to do
Georgia.
that, then yeah, it's Georgia. So, you never know what's going to happen. But, we will have the most up to date stuff there, and it will be announced via the Facebook and on the website and Twitter, I'm sure, once we have the hard and fast rules on what we're going to do with that. So just keep an eye on that for the future. Erin says hello from chat.
Hi.
Um, I can give you guys a little sneak preview of some of the guests that we're going to have, though, at JordanCon, which is fun. So, as I said before, we have Gerald Coleman, who is a urban fantasy mostly author, another amazing author who I've had funny enough, like, you would think with COVID and everyone, like, we were home, like we tried to be really good. We stayed home as much as, because Erin and I both work from home, my wife and I both work from home, so we were able to really take advantage of that privilege and not go out as much as possible. So I feel terrible for people that actually have to go and work out amongst the people. Like, it's dangerous. And
Yeah, people eat without masks.
yeah, and
Of course.
but I actually, like, with all of the time that I feel like I should have had to read books, I didn't read as much as I really felt like I should have. Like, I didn't get a lot of reading done in the last year and a half or so. But one person that I actually did read and who I really, really enjoyed, who's coming, is Doctor. He's a medical doctor too. He's not just throwing that doctor title around for no reason. He was an ER surgeon. Uh, uh, Alaron Kong, Dr. Alaron Kong. He is the author of a series called Chaos Seeds is the name of the series, Chaos Seeds, I think, yeah. And it's what do they call that genre? Lit RPG. So it's for those who are watching, if you've ever watched or played Sword Art Online, basically think reverse Matrix. People get sucked into the game and then become part of the game's world. It's called The Land. The Land is the name of the series.
Liar.
Yeah. The first book is Chaos Seeds, or Chaos something. Anyway, so the main character gets sucked into a game, and my favorite part about it is, like, everyone in the world is, like, aware of the system that they live inside of. So, like, they'll walk up to each other and be like, I'm a level 5 blacksmith, and I know how to forge mithril, and, like, that's how they that's how they communicate with each other. That's how they communicate skills to each other. So it's like, oh, I learned the fireball level 3 yesterday from this wizard, and they can, like, keep track of their health and mana via a HUD that they can mentally pull up in their head. So it's a really fun, interesting series, and he's also self-published, fully self-published. So he was, like, #1 on Amazon for a long time. Every time one of his books comes out, it, like, crashes the Audible servers. It's crazy, but yeah, no, he's another author that's going to be there. Who else do we have that? I'm going through my list of authors. Michael Livingston is another amazing person. Forget about author. He's also a doctor, but he is a doctor. He has a doctorate in I don't remember what flavor of historian he is. I want to say he's a medieval historian. It might be Roman or something like that. But he is an amazing speaker. He's just fun to listen to. Um, and he has a fun fantasy series. That's what is that? What's it called when it's like? Is it alt history? When it's
Yeah,
like
alternative history.
alternative history? Yeah. So his series takes place in like the during the reign of of Augustus Caesar, and like it revolves around like artifacts like the Ark of the Covenant and the Staff of Moses, which a little bit of a spoiler, but it's a fun little tidbit. The Staff of Moses in his series is also the Trident of Poseidon.
Oh, I like it. That's
Yeah.
fun.
So, but when you think about it for a sec. What did they do with the Staff of Moses? They parted the Red Sea. They controlled historical fiction. Chat just reminded us. Historical fiction, it's called. But he parted the Red Sea, so it controls water. So the Staff of Poseidon, it's there's a lot of little fun things mixed in there with real world mythology and actual history. And since he's a professor and a doctor of history, there's a lot of hyper accurate, really interesting stuff, and then he throws his own little fantasy twist on it, which is pretty cool. Also, like I said, just a fantastic speaker. He's a great panelist. Whenever we have him, he's good about letting other people talk too, but he does tend to just be like, and it's not just that he talks over people or anything like that. He's just so captivating that everyone, including the panelists, they're just listening to him talk. Yeah. It's hard not to. It really is hard not to. He's a great dude.
Oh, dates for JordanCon.
Oh, the dates, yes. So when is JordanCon is a good question. That would be something that someone that works at JordanCon should just know off the top of their head. But
Yeah, they should. I do believe it is April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th.
It is. I was like, it's in my email signature. Let me just look at my email real quick. Yeah.
I only know this because my birthday is April 21st, and my birthday is always around JordanCon.
Yay! Mine's 8th. Mine's the 8th. Me and Jimmy share a birthday, actually. Jimmy
fun.
Yang is one of the co-chairs of JordanCon. He and I share a birthday. We are birthday buddies. Yeah, so April 24th, 23rd, and 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. So the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Paneling usually starts at 12, I think, is opening ceremonies. 12:30 or 1 o'clock is opening ceremonies. And then it goes till Sunday at 4:30. Great time. It is a fantasy literature convention that is themed for the Wheel of Time, but it is not an entire Wheel of Time convention. So if you're not even a fan of the books, or if you've never read the books, or you don't care about the Wheel of Time, that's just one of the tracks at JordanCon. There is a fantasy track, a science fiction.
But then,
track.
how did you find us to watch this?
That's true. It's gonna be hard to not be a fan of the Wheel of Time at all and be here. So, yay!
Yay!
A wild Gerald has appeared. Yay! Hello, Gerald.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I had to do some wizardry. I was messaging you saying the iPad doesn't accept the link. You need a passcode and an ID.
Oh, that's my bad.
That's okay, but I had to figure out what wizardry needed to happen in order to get into the meeting. But I'm here now, so hey.
Yeah, that's my bad. I had the like a smart person, but not a smart person. I had Facebook muted so that it didn't interrupt us when we were talking. Because there was a time like a couple weeks ago when I accidentally left Discord open and it was making lots of pinging sounds when we were talking. Ooh, we have a Gerald lap. That was exciting. Sorry, I got a little excited.
I'm just trying to get so you're not looking straight up my nose.
That's fine. I mean, we could check your sinuses. I don't see any.
Right?
I don't see any polyps.
It's that time of year.
So you want to give us a quick Gerald plug? Well, not quick. Take your time, whatever you want to do. But give us a Gerald plug. I introduced you a little bit before, but I figured I let you.
Oh, what? You know me, science fiction fantasy writer. That's kind of my.
What's one of your books?
Kind of my plug. The fantasy series is called The Three Gifts. The first book in the series is When Night Falls.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong. Is it urban fantasy or
Epic fantasy.
epic fantasy? Right.
Yeah, that's my thing. I mean, I read everything, science fiction and fantasy, but from a very young age, epic fantasy was kind of my wheelhouse. I was the cat in the because they put us in the back corner in the bookstore, science fiction and fantasy, like you had to go all the way to the back, right? And every now and then there was one or two others of us back there, kind of scanning the bookshelf to see what was new. Not much, very often, but every now and then something new popped up. But I was the cat who the book needed to have some heft. I you know what I mean? It needed to weigh something. Yeah. Epic fantasy. I mean, I know the kind of the current, and it's for a lot of different financial reasons. Publishers are really focused on, really
Novellas,
small, short novellas. It's cheaper for them to ship and to print and to package. So that's what they push. But I'm that, old school, like give me something that's, several hundred pages, something that's heavy that I could smack somebody in the back of the head with and knock them out.
Exactly.
Like that. That's, thick.
Let me tell you about this little book.
That would make me finding something new that was thick. That would make me salivate. I remember when I first found the Eye of the World. I was like, just from the thickness, I'm like, I'm in. I don't know if this is any good or not, but I hadn't
Where did
seen
you grow
a
up?
thick book for a long time. Lexington, Kentucky is where I'm originally from. I'm in the Atlanta area right now, but yeah,
that's how we get into JordanCon every year.
Yeah, epic fantasy. That's my thing.
Yeah. So have you delved into any of Sanderson's other stuff? Because if you want big books,
no, I have not.
Right.
I right about the time, and this will probably shock or bother some folk, but I haven't finished the Wheel of Time yet. I've got all three of the last books sitting on my shelf.
Listen, the only thing that bothers.
But see, and this is the only thing that I will say to excuse myself.
Okay.
I started reading the Wheel of Time in high school, and I from like
10 years ago, right?
Like 20, yeah, 10 years ago. And so as I was reading it as the books came out. Like I didn't have the opportunity like you can on Netflix to discover it, and the entire series is out and you can go get it. I had to like wait every couple of years, 2, 3, however long.
I'm jealous of these new people that are coming into it. It's like they get to like, I'll just pick up the whole series and
right. Yeah. I mean, God bless them. I mean, they're blessed.
Oh yeah.
So I was in there, and then of course we know Jordan passed.
Yeah.
And they announced Brandon was going to finish it, and I was in there, and then they announced that they were breaking up the last book into 2 separate books, and that kind of took the wind out of my sails. Like I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to wait another, however many years for the next book. I mean, I'm at book 10.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at 2 more books left, right? I thought.
Yeah.
After this 20-year odyssey, so all of this energy built up, and then when they announced that they were kind of, extending the time out and then breaking up the last book, and I was like, okay, I bought them, but I just haven't had the energy to go back and
that's fair
and actually read it.
That's right. The only reason that bothers me is because that means you haven't read my character yet. I'll never get over it.
Your character's in the
last one.
The last one. Okay.
Yeah.
I will do a quick plug for Dragonmount. We do have all of the chapter summaries available if you want to go that route.
Yeah, that's true. If you
I know I need to read it. It's just,
Well, I mean, even if you want to just catch
school.
up on the previous books before you jump
Like
into
what
new-
happened?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I mean, there's enough.
I mean, no, that's never, as an epic fantasy reader, that's never been a problem to me. I don't know if it's my memory or what, but you know, as soon as I jump into the next book, like everything comes right back. I'm right there. Like it's been a decade, but I could quite literally jump into the next book that I hadn't read yet, and I'm there. I don't have to go back and start from the beginning and reread the whole thing. Yeah. I've seen enough, I've seen enough braid pulling and, bodice beads and gown, and I have all of that up there. I'm good.
Okay. Brandon did a good job. He did a good job writing it. There's a little the character. I mean, obviously, it's hard to replicate. Not even replicate, but even reach to the height of what Robert Jordan did in that series. Like not many authors are going to be as prolific as he was. But
I mean, my thing is no knock on Brandon. I mean,
absolutely. No, this is just me.
Job. I mean, imagine coming in behind that and having,
of course, especially
the toughest job in the world.
Previously to when he finished the series, he had only like 1 or 2 books published at that time. Like he wasn't even he didn't even have that much published. He didn't even have a series published yet. He had
the standalones.
He had a standalone, but he had the first book of a trilogy published at that time, and that was it. So, like that's coming into it, and he didn't even put his name forward to be considered, like to finish it. Harriet actually, and Brandon has told this story a million times. But I've been lucky enough to get it firsthand from Harriet a couple of times when she's told it to other people. She read a eulogy that he had written, like on his blog for him. And, someone at Tor had read it and was like, wow, this was amazing, and passed it on to Harriet. Harriet, you should read this. This was really, really beautiful that someone wrote for him. He's a small author. And then she was like, him. That guy. That's who I want to
We found him.
Yep. And then they called him and said, hey, come out to Charleston. We want you to finish The Wheel of Time. He always describes it as a freight train hitting him.
I mean, yeah, you got to imagine. I mean, it probably simultaneously it was like you hit the lottery, but then it's, oh my God, right? It's like, because you got all of these millions of people like looking at you like, okay, bruh.
Exactly.
We okay, don't mess this up.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, forget about the fans. You had Tom Doherty sitting there.
Yeah, that could have been a career-ending, moment. It could have been like, look, dig a hole, put him in it.
Yeah. Put those last books on
rocks
top.
on top of it.
A
tough gig. But hey,
he did an amazing job. I will say he did an amazing job. There's even the critiques that he has had for himself. There was a couple of characters which are Matt and Avienda, who he didn't feel like he can get the voices well enough because they're such complex characters that he didn't even feel like he was able to capture the voices well enough. But those were even good. Like that was I was blown away by how good he did with those as well. But everything else was amazing. I do want to just say one thing real quick because we had one little trolley words I don't want to say on YouTube because we want to keep monetized pop up in chat. If you feel if you're watching us right now and you're one of the types of people that are just very negative, even if you don't like about the show, like you hate it and you hate everyone that hates it and you think that anyone that likes it isn't a fan of The Wheel of Time, just leave. We don't need you here. Like we
go find a hate group. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
You lost?
Like
right.
you can have discourse about something and not like something while still being respectful of the process that made it. A lot of talent and effort went into making it, and the people who like it. So there's a way to talk about things that you don't like without being just a trolly idiot. And I had to block one of them, so I just wanted to say that.
Good.
Speaking of not really entirely liking the show, I know Gerald has feelings, so that's a good segue to talk about why we're here. Why most of us are here is the show. And the funny part was this guy. We're not even talking about the show, and this guy's like, "The show sucks, horrible in every way." Like, we're not even talking about the show yet. Oh man, tell me that you don't know how to be a person without telling me you don't know how to be a person. So anyway, all right. So the idea here is, if you haven't seen the Wheel of Time show yet, spoilers for the whole show. I'm sure we're going to talk about the books too, so spoilers for the books if you haven't read the books. Let's jump
And
right
maybe
in.
spoilers for The Witcher. Who knows?
Oh yeah, true. We were chatting about The Witcher before you came in. I like it, just not a big fan of the B plots. The B plots haven't really they're boring to me.
I will say that. And I'm going to make some Cavill fans mad here, but I think that The Witcher is probably the perfect character for him.
Oh yeah,
for his kind of, he's very
even.
I saw him in A Man Called Uncle, and a couple other things. I didn't really. I'm not really fond of his Superman. Because he's not very emotive, at least to me, he's not. But I think that The Witcher is like right in his wheelhouse. And
the funny thing about that is he can do it, because like go back and watch Stardust. He was in Stardust. He doesn't
not even Stardust. I think in him in Immortals, he was good in Immortals.
He was good in Immortals too. Yeah.
I like that. I think he was emotive.
Yeah, he
did a very good job.
Honestly, I think Superman was the direction, and the writing,
among other things.
Yeah,
but we should go back to Wheel of Time.
Yes, Wheel of Time.
Back to the feelings about Wheel of Time, the TV show.
Kitty is my favorite, because she keeps us on track, and then also reminds me to tell people who we are.
All right, we're Dragonmount.
Yeah, I always forget. I always forget. Anyway, all right. So the show. So talk about all of season 1. Overall. What are your feelings, Gerald, on the show?
Wow. I mean, you're very right. I have very complicated feelings about it's kind of like my relationship with cake. I mean,
you like it.
I love a good piece of cake, but I think about how long I have to get on the treadmill, or how many push-ups or whatever I have to do to stay sexy and eat the kind of cake that I would have to eat. It's a complicated relationship. No, look, I'll start by saying I went into it. Full disclosure, I went into it with misgivings, because it was at Amazon, right?
That's fair. No, that's entirely fair.
When it was announced, I said, oh, the excitement. Obviously, like I said, I've been reading Wheel of Time since high school, so I was really excited. And then I was like, oh, who's doing it? Because I knew that was going to be key as to whether or not it would be done well, appropriately, funded properly. Because look, anytime I'm a long-time science fiction, fantasy, TV, and movie watcher.
So I've been through the dark times.
I've been through the Beastmaster and Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conans and Willow.
Classics, but
Willow,
talk about low budget.
So the Time Bandits, all of it. So the challenge with science fiction, but even more so, but if you look at it, even more so than science fiction, but fantasy. Yeah,
fantasy hasn't gotten a good light in years, in a long time.
How much money are you going to spend on it? That's what it comes down to. Yeah. And yes, you have to have someone who knows how to spend that money well, but ultimately you have to be willing to spend the kind of money that you need to spend on fantasy, so that it comes across on screen, effectively.
Yeah.
And so that was the initial thing for me. So that's why I was like, okay, well, who's doing it? Netflix is pretty good about spending the kind of money they need to spend in terms of budget on speculative fiction.
Yeah.
Sci-fi is not. The Sci-Fi Channel.
The Sci-Fi Channel
is not.
Yeah.
MTV right?
Like
those are the kind of the kind of sides. Apple TV has shown that they're willing to spend the kind of money that they need to spend. Like whether you like Foundation or not, it was shot beautifully. I mean, you can tell they spent some money on it, right? Yeah. That they gave it an appropriate budget so that it could come across the way it needs to come across. I mean, when you look at, for example, The Mandalorian on Disney, they didn't cut corners, and when you found out how it was shot behind scenes with like giant screens and the way that they did that, they spent the appropriate amount of money on it. So initially for me, my first question was, who's doing it? And when I found out it was Amazon, I was like, okay, because Amazon is not known for really spending the kind of money they need to spend on a show like that. And it's and by that I mean like this could be a once in a lifetime event, like bigger than Game of Thrones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If done well, right? If done well.
Yeah.
And so that was so I went into it with that apprehension. And on the downside, there's an upside, but on the downside, I think my fears were realized in some ways in terms of a limited amount of budget that Rafe was given and kind of some of the choices that he made based on that. I now believe, and this is just me speculating, but I now believe that some of the decisions he made about not doing the Ageless Faces for the Eyes to Die, not having them in the elaborate dresses and gowns that that are kind of fundamental to their character in the books. I think a lot of that had to do with him making decisions about what to do with money and where to spend that money.
He did actually speak on those two. Like he's answered questions on those. If you do you want me to tell you like what he said?
Sure.
Okay. So on the Ageless Faces, part like he did mention the fact like that would be a lot of CG to do, but also it's not true to the actors who are playing the roles, because now you're not getting those actors anymore. You're getting almost a CG version of them. And it's hard to emote as much with what they do. So the way they're doing the agelessness is more so that they're just having the idea of these actors like Rosamund, who is she's stunning, like she's gorgeous. But then saying, "Oh yeah, they're 80 or whatever," and you could see that they're of an age, but it's also like Kitty was saying before, this idea of like beauty being in your 20s and that's it. And
because my devil's advocate for this, but Ageless for me, when I read the series, I never pictured some perfectly smooth 20-year-old skin. It was, you're going to be weathered with the elements, but it's going to have a point where it stops, where I'm going to say maybe 40s. And I kind of love the show for this. Otherwise, we have Ageless. It's Botox and filler, which is great if that's the route you want to go. But I feel like if the show went that route, it would come across as in like what, the Real Housewives of Tarvalon.
Yeah, that was the other thing, was he said it's hard to emote with those.
You can't move.
Yeah, well, not with Botox, but like with the CG, it's hard to emote.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But the dresses and the
let me just interject. Let me just interject and say that if you've seen which I don't know which Ant-Man it was, what they did with Michael Douglas's character. I don't think he had a problem emoting. I think you could do it badly where it would look like what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
But I think if you did it well and did it appropriately, there was a way to do that.
No, but it would be lots and lots and lots of money, like a lot
so much money.
Yeah,
which is
what I'm, which is the point I'm trying to get.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
he made some of this. I think he made some of those decisions because of how much it would cost, and because he didn't have the budget to do that, so he had to spend the money in other places.
The only thing I would say to that is, like, yes, it's money. If they had an infinite budget, then they could just CG, everything, and it would be fine.
No, I don't think you have to be infinite. I just think that, we can disagree on kind of the finer points of what that means, but I think ultimately that I don't think that Amazon put as much money.
Oh no, I don't either. They should
as
put
they
more.
Could have,
no,
or
absolutely,
as they should have.
No, I agree with that.
I think another really clear example is what the Trollocs look like. I mean, I was very disappointed.
Really, I like the
in that CGI. I think the fade looked good, but I think that when they had to do like hordes of Trollocs.
Oh yeah,
which is expensive. I think you could see that kind of coming through, that they didn't.
No,
they didn't have the budget for
that do that well.
Yeah, no, I like the practical close-ups, like when they got the close-ups in the Two Rivers and in the final episodes. Those I really liked. The practical effects I liked, but no, when they were like chasing them through the forests on the way to Shadar Logoth, there was a couple of scenes there where I was like, is this the 80s?
Yeah, that definitely a budget thing, but I do appreciate the amount of work that went into the actual like prosthetics,
the practical effects,
like the non-CGI, the materialistic, realistic.
That's what practical.
Yeah, I think one of the things that they're discovering is that, and this is a separate topic certainly, but if you're going to do that, if you're going to do CG well, that you have to kind of do that. You have to blend,
complement it,
actual prosthetics,
hey, Lisa,
and then bring in kind of CGI on top of that, and those melt together in ways that make it look more realistic.
And that's a budget thing.
Yeah. They definitely. So, I will 100% agree with you, and we've said it a couple of times on the show. They needed a bigger budget. They definitely.
And also, we are not paid by Amazon.
Yeah, at all.
Let everyone out there know.
Yeah, we're not.
You can tell they aren't paying me, right?
Yeah. They don't pay me. That's for sure. I love to see some Amazon money. You kidding me?
I would love
it. I'll rattle off a couple other quick things.
Yeah.
And then I'll move over to kind of the positive stuff that I liked about it. I think I did not like the fact that there was only 8 episodes. It felt, to me personally, it felt rushed. It felt like they didn't have enough time to kind of do everything that they could have or should have done in the first season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of material. I would hate to see 5, 6, or 7 seasons of 8 episodes each. That, to me, that would feel incredibly rushed, given all that the storytelling that they have the option to tell. There's some, and I don't know what, I'd like to understand what the technical stuff was that they gave me this sense, but like I had the sense that a lot of it felt very small in terms of how it was shot. Like if you take The Mandalorian, for instance, and they were inside using screens, but you never got that feeling watching it, that it was this kind of closed in, kind of claustrophobic feel like that they were on a small set. I got that feeling a number of times, like in Shadar Logoth, in the hall in the tower.
The ways.
Just something about the way it's technically shot, and I don't have the expertise to know what that is, made it feel kind of small to me. Okay. So there were some things that I one other thing that and I won't go into a lot about some of the changes. I know that it's an adaptation. There are certain things you have to change because it's a different format.
Yeah.
And I'm understanding about all of that.
Yeah.
I don't like making changes just because you can make those changes and you feel like you want to make those changes. That as a fantasy writer, knowing what writers do to kind of create that story line and to have characters do certain things at certain places and certain times. The idea that someone might come in and not for the sake of it needing to be done as an adaptation or because of the budget or whatever, but just because they have the reins now and they can play with it, that they change it and do things. I got that sense a couple of times in a couple of places. I hate what they did with Perrin. I hate it. I hate what they did with him. And from the first episode on, and had him kill his wife and had, that whole thing. I thought it was unnecessary and a black mark as far as I'm concerned. So there's some things that I didn't like. Would I watch it again? Yes. Am I glad it's being made? Yes. I think Rosamund, I could watch her do just about anything. I could watch her be, I could watch her be Moraine like for 20 seasons. I could watch her. I think she's amazing. I think she's one of the best things in the show.
Yeah. I don't have any complaints about any of the actors, actually. I love all of the actors' portrayals, like their personal portrayals.
I'm very appreciative of how diverse the cast is and how some of those decisions were made. Maybe not all of them, but how most of them were made.
Chad agrees with you, by the way, Gerald. I had the same feeling to the cities felt cramped.
Yeah. So, but again, I'm glad it's being made. Yeah. I think what they did I think the last episode was a bit of a mess. But I'll chalk that up to COVID and all of the kind of stuff that's been going on, and I'm willing to go into season 2 with like, okay, I'm here again. Give me another opportunity to get on board with this train, and hopefully the Amazon will recognize what they have on their hands. There's the special nature of it and the opportunity that they have to create a landmark show, and they will actually kind of fund it in the way that it needs to be funded and give it the appropriate budget and and enough episodes. I think you got to have at the bare minimum, you got to have 10, and I'm still mad at 10. At least 13. I come from the 23 episode,
24 episodes,
23 episodes a season, era. So if you got to cut it down, 13, come on. You're talking about one of the biggest epic fantasies ever written in the world. And to make them have to kind of rush through all of that with all of the kind of stuff that's available for storytelling, I think it would be a crime. So
I definitely agree. With that. How's it going, MJ? We have some more chat joining us. I definitely agree. It felt rushed. Like especially the first 2 episodes. Like I remember sitting watching it with my wife, being like, "Woof, man, that like it feels like it moves so quickly." Like, well, I get it. Like especially the only reason. I get a little bit why they did, especially the first episode, because it's like they're trying to grab the non-readers. So like the people who don't know what's coming, like, they have to grab you. So they wanted to get those Trollocs on the screen and channeling on the screen as quickly as possible.
Oh, so, but why wouldn't you do the Prelude? Why wouldn't you do the big, beautiful, gorgeous production of the Prelude to grab people by the scruff and be like, watch this show? Look, I'm not the showrunner, so you're gonna make the decisions that you're gonna make. But I think
that could have been a budget thing.
Yeah, that could have been a budget.
That could have been a budget thing.
If you were trying to grab people's attention who don't know the show and get them to kind of hook in and watch, I think, my God, you had the channeling, you had all everything you could, and you could have added some stuff like, in terms of the actual war that's going on outside that would have, that would have given you all of that and, a nice entree into the world building of the universe. But that's just me.
I agree with you. So like,
I don't have any money or any push or any pull or.
Here's the thing. I completely agree, because there's a whole sect of like the Wheel of Time book readers that are all about, especially when they try to introduce new people to the series, they're like, oh, skip the prologue.
That's me.
Yeah, see, I disagree so hard. Like I love that prologue. The problem is the prologue doesn't do a good enough job coming right off of someone who knows nothing about the Wheel of Time. And
but it's a little
confusing.
Look, and this goes back to like when I first chimed in.
Yeah.
Epic fantasy readers, epic fantasy fans understand this intimately.
Yeah.
When you open up the book, it's got to have a prelude in it. It's got to have a map in it.
Yeah.
Right? Come on. It needs if it doesn't have a map in it and a prelude, it's not epic fantasy. It's something else.
I agree.
It might be fantasy. It might be sword and sorcery, but it's not epic fantasy.
I feel you.
If you're going to do epic, look, I'm passionate about epic fantasy. If you're going to do epic fantasy, do epic fantasy, right?
The problem is that they had to, and I get it, they had to write, like, the show isn't just for epic fantasy readers, because then that
show's not even for readers.
It's not even for readers, to be perfectly honest. Like
epic fantasy fan.
It's not no. They need the generic. Yeah, they need the generic fan, someone who isn't even a fan, like to watch the show. Like, and I think. Honestly, I think they did a good job catering to both of us, because here we are. We watched the whole season. It's not like we hated it so much that we didn't watch it. But
those are presuppositions, though, right?
No, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Those are creative. Those are creative presuppositions where you come from a position where you say, "Hey, I think that the average viewer will not be able to key into X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So we have to do A, B, and C instead." And that's a presupposition from people at a network somewhere who are doing programming, who think certain things about the audience. Yeah. I don't think those things. I don't agree with that. I think that the audience is mature enough that if you present it well, if you spend the right amount of money on it, if you have the right actors and actresses, if you have the right director, if you have the right showrunner, they can put together think about the shows that are groundbreaking, that we like, oh my God, what an amazing show. They very rarely were shows that went by the number according to what somebody in an office in a network would have them put out, that basically is about, hitting the least common denominator among viewers, right? Yeah. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is to create something spectacular and amazing that people have never seen before, and trust that will draw in an audience, because that happens too. Yeah. But very often the least common denominator being counter kind of version of this story is what wins out when people are doing programming from a network perspective. So, I mean, there are two different kinds of viewpoint. I just happen to be on the other side of that.
And I am mostly too. The thing, I think they did a good enough, not amazing job, but I think they did a good enough job towing the line in between both of those for now to capture enough people. And now that I think they set the hook good enough on, like, the non-readers, to where I really feel like they could go full-fledged into the epicness of the Wheel of Time in the next season. Like,
let me give you one quick example.
Yeah.
Where do you remember the experience of going to see The Matrix the first time?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a movie that folks in the network office, at least the least common denominator folk, would have never greenlit that movie.
Oh yeah.
When you think about it, think about how groundbreaking and how like revolutionary and different that movie was, even when it comes to science fiction. Like, that thing was so good that I'm talking about the first movie. Yeah. That it blew people away. Oh, yeah. Right. And so that's where I'm coming from. I'm like, if you're going to do it, do that. Right. Do that version of it. Don't do the version of it that's safe, that we want to kind of try and make sure that we hit these broad demographic categories so that we could do X, Y, Z. You know how those folks operate.
No, I agree.
I just think you should. I think that it's good enough. I think the Wheel of Time is good enough that you could have taken that chance to do that. So again, overall, I'm like, yes, I'm glad it got made.
Yeah.
I'm glad about who's in it and how. I think they're great actors and actresses. I think they're doing a wonderful job of what they've been given.
Yeah.
And my hope is that, as you said, that Amazon sees what they have on their hands and that they're willing to kind of invest in it in the way that they should, so that going forward, we can all kind of watch something that will be must-see TV for us from one week to the next.
I think that I am being optimistic in saying I think they will. I want to get to some of what the chat
is. Kitty, am I talking over you, Kitty? Are you supposed to be in on this conversation? I don't want to.
No, she'll interject.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't agree. The prologue doesn't matter, especially if you only have 8 episodes. How do you even go with that for show point of view? But I also see where you're coming from, and I'm not here to argue with you. I'm here to hear your point of view.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying I want you to be a part of the conversation. I don't want to kind of hog the entire time.
Oh no, I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I think that we're going to open up with the prologue. One of the other things was, if you open up with the prologue with a book, you can't see the characters' faces. But if they opened up with the prologue in this, we would know that the person who they're trying to elude is the Dark One is really Ishmael. Whereas if you were to go into it knowing nothing about the Wheel of Time, it's legitimate to think that this man, at first we only see the dude with the mask, with the face and the fire and the eyes and the mouth. It would be legitimate to think, okay, this is the Dark One. This is who they're referring to as the Dark One.
Protagonist.
Yeah, that's the protagonist. And then, okay, he has a face. Like when we see him in the last 2 episodes, okay, like that thing is just, he's using that to scare people. But here's the Dark One. He looks like a man. Whatever, cool. But if we had the prologue, everyone would be like, oh, it's just Ishmael. There wouldn't be that, oh, this is the Dark One. Because, think about it like this. If you don't know the Wheel of Time, you are thinking right now, he killed the Dark One. Like, the Dark One's dead. So what's going to happen? And then, remember when you read the books for the first time? When that first book came out, everyone thought that Baal-Zimon was the Dark One. Even the same way that we think it in the show, the characters saw it then too. They thought that was the Dark One. Baal-Zimon means the Dark One in Trolloc-Ton. So they leaned into that a little bit more. So if we did the prologue, that would be another thing. That would have been brought right out. I just want to get to chat for a second.
Okay.
Because chat was talking about the prologue too. They were sad that they didn't see Louis Theron enough. I love the actor that they played, Louis Theron.
Yes.
So that was the Hobo Sonic. Thanks for chiming in with that. They agree with you that maps are a must. That would be Damien. Damien had a lot to say. I'm gonna come back to some of the comments when we hit those parts of our chat right now. I'm just gonna stay with the prologue right now. One person said they really need to do the Watt prologue before season 2. Now that we see Louis Theron, we can see the results of what happened from when he tried to seal the bore. So the one thing that go ahead. I'm sorry, Katie.
I was gonna say it could be the cold opening for season 2. We had no idea.
Yeah, I agree. The thing that I didn't like at all about I loved the setting when they did the Age of Legends scene. I loved that. When they looked out the window, which I've been saying that they were going to do, by the way, since the show opened, that we were going to get a shot of that of that valley, but in the Age of Legends. I knew we were going to get it. When they showed that valley, in the first episode where everything was overgrown, I'm like, oh, they're like, when is the shot of this from the Age of Legends going to come? I knew it. But anyway, I love the language the old tongue, the way they spoke it was beautiful. I really liked seeing that. But the thing I hated was the way they spoke about the Dark One and the sealing of the boar and all that. Like, they made it like Latre. They made it like she knew what was going to happen. Like, oh yeah, the Dark One's going to taint the male half of is going to taint Saidin. And I'm like, what? Why? How does she know that? Like, she was just like, well, if you go there and do it, they're going to taint magic. Okay, so then why am I going to do it? Well, we'll just stay here and wait and clean up after you when you're like that. It felt weak. That felt weak. I was just like, why would you do that? Like the story from the books was they disagreed on what they were supposed to do, and then the men were just like, all right, well, we're going to go do it anyway because we need to do something because we're going to lose, and that's what ended up happening. Not like the women knew what was going to happen, because then, like, why would they do it? Like, why would the men go and do it anyway? That doesn't make any sense. So,
because men.
Yeah, I guess, but like, come on, like, it's so tropey and stupid.
Well, yeah, but yet again, there's
a
lot of tropes in the books from back in the day. Yeah. It's not a young, fresh new series.
Yeah, I think that's one of those symptoms of, again, like there's this one take on TV that's about not trusting your audience to get it.
Yeah, that's fair.
To understand, and to kind of, you have to spoon feed them certain things. And I think that's what that was. I think it was a choice that they didn't trust the audience to make those connections and to kind of see that. But yeah, I agree. I think there was a better way to do that. Yeah. I mean, what that scene did was make me want more of that.
I can see them, but now that we met, when
it cut and went to something, I was like, "That's it.
Yeah,
that's all I get."
Yeah. But now that we
more than that, come on.
Now that I don't think it's gonna open with the prologue, but I think
I think he's going to do the same thing. I think he's going to put little drips of those little scenes throughout. You know,
if I was the writer, here's what I would do. I would wait until the reveal, right? Until the reveal of Baalzamon was actually Ishmael, and it wasn't the Dark One. Then you have the cold open as the prologue, because
that makes sense.
Yeah. Like we have we have Lucerne. We have a very clean cut, put together, perfectly sane Lucerne. So we've seen that, and we've seen a beautiful non-destroyed Age of Legends. So we've got that. And we have a dead Dark One. So now, when we get the reveal that was actually Ishmael, then we can go back and get that prologue where Ishmael comes and they have that whole discussion, and we get to see a disheveled, broken Lucerne Telamon and a destroyed world. So like, that's why I don't think they'll open with it, because as a viewer, cutting out all of my Wheel of Time knowledge, I don't know that that's Ishmael yet. So I like, they could reveal it, I guess, in that way, but I feel like it would be a better way to do it as a surprise during the course of the episode. So like,
yeah, but I have a feeling that even when they do it, they're not even going to give you that whole sprinkle. They're not going to give you that whole kind of scene all together. They're going to parse it up into bits throughout wherever he's going to place it. Yeah. That's what he's going to do with it.
Yeah. Possibly.
All right, we need to move on from the prologue because it's already been an hour and 15 minutes.
Thank you. See, Katie,
you're welcome.
Katie keeps us on track. That's why she's here.
We don't got all day.
Real quick, we'll jump to chat, and then we can go talk on some of the topics that they had. So, where was the one? I gotta scroll up. Oh, so Tar Valon. So someone said that they loved Tar Valon, but they didn't like some of the costuming. I love the costuming. But you also didn't like some of the costuming too, so that would work out. So what do you think of? So this is from Damien. He had some feelings on Tar Valon. He liked the CG, but the costuming he thought fell flat. So, what did you think of the city of Tar Valon? And I'm gonna pull up a map for our viewers to see while we talk about it.
I'm gonna try to grade that on a curve, because again, as an epic fantasy fan, a longtime reader, I probably have a more particular imagination as I'm reading stuff. So for me, when you create something grand, in my mind, it's like, it's truly grand and breathtaking. And I don't, at least for me, Tarvalon wasn't that in the TV show. But I understand, why they did it the way they did it. I just, again, for me, I want to understand it. And again, I don't, it's not one of my areas of expertise in terms of how they do the filming.
Yeah.
But I'd like to know what it is about how they're filming it that I get that kind of closed in, small feeling, rather than the kind of a broader, open feeling. I thought the hall was supposed to be much grander than the small room that it kind of turned out to be. But let me just say real quick that Moraine telling the story about Manetheren. Oh my God, one of my favorite moments of the season. As they're riding, and they could have sung a little more too, just a little bit longer.
Yeah, the singing was great.
It didn't have to be 5 minutes, but just maybe another verse.
Yeah, another verse
would have been nice.
It was really good though. I really enjoyed the that little taste of song though. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then she takes over and tells us that was a lovely little part of the first season. I really like.
When I mentioned Tarvalon, we got the view of the city, like that top down view of the city, and I really like that view. One of the big comments that we saw a lot on doing this, what we're doing right now, was that the White Tower doesn't look big enough. I'm like I know not everybody is a crazy person like me. I paused it and looked at it, but they also did release stills, which I apparently can't find because I'm a terrible person, of that image. The White Tower is massive.
You compare it to any of the buildings below it, and it is.
They're
scary big.
Oh, it's massive, and now
you're like, how did they even do this?
Yeah, no. Well, obviously they had to use one power, but it's also built on a hill, so it goes down into the geography of the island that it's on. It looked great. The other thing that I would say to that is, so I always feel like I'm trying to say, look at me and what I did, but it's an experience I had, and it's what I can weigh it against. I was lucky. Kitty and I are both members of Tarvalon.net. At the 10th anniversary of Tarvalon.net, we had it in Charleston, which is where Robert Jordan is from and where he lived. And Harriet, being the absolutely amazing, lovely person that she is, invited us to her home. And we got to go to the house. Robert Jordan has a picture hanging when you walk into his house right next to the door of Tarvalon. And it looks almost exactly like that, the vista shot that we got of the whole city, almost exactly like it. And that is an artist, it was a small artist that he enjoyed, that he had them commissioned them to make a bigger version of this picture that they had, and he hung it up in his house, and he had it hanging in his house for years before he even passed away. And I guarantee, I feel like that they had to have a meeting at Robert Jordan's house, and someone was like, "Oh, is this a picture that he liked of Tarvalon?" Okay, and then that's the one that they used in the show. I feel like it had to happen that way.
It was so close.
It was so accurate to what accurate. It looked like. I have that picture, a good version of that picture, but I can't find a good one from the TV show, like a big one.
I think it was the interior shots, probably.
For you.
That,
okay.
For me, and probably for some other people who didn't feel like it was quote unquote big enough. It was like,
no, I felt that way too.
Kind of grandeur.
Felt bigger on the outside.
Yeah.
And then when you go inside, it didn't seem to fit kind of the grandeur of the exterior. That's probably what at least some of that was, at least for me.
See that.
Yeah, no, I definitely felt that way too. that it could have been much bigger. Hold on, I found an image that I could put for our viewers. I'm going to hide our faces for a second. So it's a little blurry, but this is the image that Robert Jordan had hanging in his home. So you could see Dragonmount is in the background, like almost exactly where it is in the show. The island is shaped very similarly. The tower is a nondescript. It's a pretty fat tower. It's not towering up into the skies like it is obviously the largest structure in the entire city, but it's not like ridiculously a thin white tower going up into the sky like a lot of people were saying it should be. It is a big building, like that's what it looks like. But when you actually get down to it and you start looking at the size of the buildings and the size of the gates and the roads and people comparatively, it is huge. It is humongous. And that was how I thought they did a great job with that. But I do agree, the interior of the tower would probably, for budgetary constraints, was very. We saw like what? The balcony. We saw a balcony with the fire where he put the ring, where they got rid of Karene's rings. We saw
the Warder's Hall.
The Warder's Hall, the hall outside of the hall of the tower,
which was not as obvious as like.
Yeah, that it was a different place.
Maureen's room.
Maureen's room, Nynaeve's room. Max, is it Max? No, not Maxim. Yeah, Maxim. The warder, Karene's warder, Maxim, yeah. Maxim's room and the Amaryllin's study. That was
now that we're actually listing them, that's kind of a decent amount to have to do with only 8 episodes.
But two of those spaces were very similar.
For me, it was this.
I agree.
It was the size of them. It wasn't how many of them we got to see. It was like
you saw 30 feet of a hallway, and it looked like it was like
it looked like it was 30 feet of a hallway,
9-foot ceilings, and like I get it. No, I definitely agree that the grandeur that you felt from the books wasn't really there, and I'm going to be optimistic and say that we'll get it in, especially because
we'll get it with budgeting.
Yeah. Well, Egwene and Nynaeve are going to. Well, I'm not.
Maybe.
I would think that this would be the point, especially like if we follow the books. This is when Egwene and Nynaeve go to the tower and start to learn to be Aes Sedai. So this will be when we see more of the tower, hopefully, and that would be great. Like the accepted quarters, the rooms, even the kitchens.
I want to see the kitchen.
Yeah,
that's my
yeah. Absolutely.
Was it Laris?
Yeah, Laris. Yeah, with her big cudgel of a spoon.
Yep. Let's move on to costuming.
Costuming, yes. Honestly, I love the costuming. I thought it was great, especially the first of all, Rosamund's dress, that blue dress with the shoulder piece was freaking amazing. I love that dress. But the gowns and stuff like that, they're not practical to be able to do anything in. And I don't know, Kitty, have you ever worn like a gown like that or cosplayed in a gown? Like, how can you like go and fight Trollocs or ride?
You don't.
Yeah.
I think like even when I first read the series, 20 years ago, and there was like, the gowns, and I'm like, you're a man who's never worn a dress.
Yeah.
Like to me, it was unrealistic unless, like, obviously it's a fantasy series, but it's like this is written by a man who's always worn pants. Like, it always no, it would be so disgusting and you would trip and fall. You can't. No, I loved what they did, and I love how they did the difference between this is them traveling, their hair was a hot mess, versus we are in the tower and now we have our access to water and soap and clothes brushes and servants and like I loved the differentiation. It wasn't just like, we're in gowns in the wilderness and we're in gowns in town. Like to me, that was actually kind of took me out of the book sometimes, and I would just like skip over the points. But that's just me as a, I don't know, female reader 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, I think they did a great job dirtying them up too. Like there was a scene.
Exactly.
There was this scene with Matt and Rand, but just before they got to the farm, the Grinwell farm, if it still is the Grinwell farm or whatever. But when they were like filthy, they were filthy. And I was like,
They rolled in the dirt.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they went above and beyond because like that was one of the big critiques about that stupid, what was it, the Sword and Shannara show, was like they were always like, it looked like they had their hair blow dried and makeup freshly put on before every single scene in that show.
But I want to hear from you.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say my favorite thing about the dresses and all of the costuming, specifically the Aes Sedai though, was the cultural differences like that you could see in all of the dresses.
I don't even know if it was cultural, which it probably was, but it's also like personal preference. It wasn't a uniform. It was I have access to the best tailors, and this is what I am going to wear.
Yeah. Well,
and you could see people's comfort level with like, you had different levels of modesty. You had vastly different cuts. Like Moraine had these gorgeous, like almost like hip, I don't even know what to call them, but like that would have looked terrible on another body type, but on her, phenomenal. And I loved the absolute differences in the details.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just like copy and paste, gown.
There was one Aes Sedai that was on the that was in the hall of the tower. She had like a sash across that had some sort of symbols on it. So I'm assuming that's probably from a culture of one of the workplaces. But there was just the vast differences in the costuming, just in that one scene, in the one scene with the 9 sitters and the Sophie's dresses, Amelin's dresses were like. I loved her tattoos too. I know we're talking about costuming, but like I guess that's part of the costuming, right? Is her tattoos?
Yeah.
Those were really cool. See, there's an addition. That's an addition from the that was, she didn't have tattoos like that in the books. Well,
they weren't mentioned.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I feel like
she didn't.
We also never saw really Siuan like naked very much in the books, except for when she was arrested.
But like this is so obviously you and I agree on the costuming. But like, what is your?
Oh yeah, Gerald, you said you had you had an issue with the costuming, right?
Like it wasn't your favorite.
No, it wasn't. I think I've seen, and by that I mean it's probably a budgetary thing. I've seen costuming that was done. What am I trying to say? Not the kind of costumes, but how well they were made and how well it was done, right? Like I've seen, for example, if you look at and again, it's a movie, not a TV series, but the sister that won the Oscar for costuming for Black Panther, when you look at the individual, like the detail and kind of the individual, when you look at the material and how it's done, you can really tell when they spend the money that they need to spend on it to make it look really good. I was surprised at what was it? What's the show? Oh, Shadow. Was it Shadow and Bone?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I was surprised at how well the costuming was done in that. When you look closely, when they gave you a close-up and you could see like the material and how it was sewn and how it was done, like it looked really good. And that's what I was expecting. I think it was
yours
fine.
Is more like a budgeting thing, not like a specific.
Right. I think it was fine. I just think that it wasn't, again, if you got a close-up, like you didn't really get the feeling that they had spent a lot of money on kind of making the individual pieces well. Am I making sense? I'm not talking about kind of what it looks like, but how well the costuming was made.
No, it's the details for you. It's the level of, like, they had $100 to spend on this, and it looks like it was 100 instead of 1,000 because that's what they had. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Right. Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I saw him looking at one of the dresses from the Andrin, actually, when she captured the unnamed male channeler in that first episode. And yeah, I mean, her dress is like the cloth of the dress is very plain, but she's also
should be wool.
Yeah, it looks like wool.
She's traveling.
Yeah, she's traveling, and like she's also working. Like she's chasing. Like she needs to be. It's she's wearing armor too, which is pretty cool. I didn't notice that she was wearing armor. And
He was also wearing lipstick, but I noticed that.
Yeah, that's.
But if you get a chance to look at Shadow and Bone, I think it's on Netflix, and you see some of those close-ups where you see like the regimental coats that they were wearing, and you get in close enough, you can see the stitching and the detail and how thick the material is and how well it's constructed and cut and tailored. And you can tell they spent some money on that. Yeah. And I didn't get that kind of feel for in a lot of areas in terms of kind of what I was seeing there. I did like Moraine's dress in the tower. Yeah. But again, it's Rosamund, so
yeah, it's hard.
She could have worn a
She could have been wearing a towel, and I'd have been like, "Ooh, that's a really nice towel."
I gotta buy one of them towels.
Has on, yeah.
No, yeah.
Do we have comments in chat?
I will say this in a more general sense, that one of the things I think the story that they've done well so far is that, and I think that probably comes down to the actors and actresses portraying the characters. And I've heard this from people a lot too, that there are characters that people did not like much in reading that they like in the show because
that's me.
For example, Moraine, was a hard ass in a lot of places in the book, and some people really didn't like her as much. Yeah. But there's no way to dislike Rosamund. I mean, there's just just no way. Yeah. Right? Even when she's being, aloof or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's now the other side of the coin for that is I hated the choice that they made for her in the last episode.
Yeah.
Because at the end of Eye of the World, she's a badass in the book, and they reduced her to holding Rand in her lap. Right.
Rafe definitely had a Q&A about that, and he addressed it, and it's still interesting. His reasonings. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, it's pretty much obviously they deviated from the books, and his impression is Moraine doesn't really do much in the next two books. It's mostly just traveling.
Yeah, she has like I think it was like 20 pages or something like that in the entirety of the next books. That's it. So to drag that out for the entire season is hard, especially when she's not really doing anything. Like in the other books, she was looking for a way to fight the Forsaken, which was like, what? So
hey, invite me into the writer's room. I'll figure that out for you.
Yeah, well, they gave her.
Figure that out for you. For me, that sounds like a lack of imagination. Yeah. I just didn't like. Powerless. I didn't like how powerless she was portrayed in the last episode, and how she was reduced to kind of being Rand's kind of, what's the word? Yes, thank you. Rand's nursemaid. I did not like that at all. After showing her all season as this, very self-possessed, powerful woman, and how much it deviates from what she does at the end of the novel. I just didn't like that for her as a character. And
I can see that 100%.
Yeah, I agree.
And I can understand that you want to set up something. I understand that you want to set up something to kind of, because she's the named actor in the series, and you want to kind of keep her on screen. Okay, if you don't know how to do that, I'll give you my phone number. I'll give you my phone number. Call me. I'll come in. We can sit down in the writer's room, and I will help you work that out without diminishing her as a character.
I love it.
As your way into that. I think that's just a lack of imagination.
Lisa Barb's in chat was about the costume. She said that she was glad that they left out all the lace.
Thank you. Oh my god.
The on the Moraine thing, the only thing I could think of that would make sense for the reason why like she was so easily dealt with was to show the immenseness. Like she's not on the level of Rand and Ishmael.
But that's the thing. That's the thing.
They didn't do a good job with that.
But she's smarter than that. She's smarter than they are. Even in the books, he shows how even when Moraine is outclassed, not physically, but in terms of power she has a plan. She always has a plan, and she doesn't go into it not understanding
Yeah.
what the power dynamics are and what's the best way for her to deal with that situation. I think there was a way to do that, to do what he wanted to do, but without diminishing her as a character at the same time.
Yeah, no,
Rafe, if you need some help figuring that out in the future, let me know. I can put together a writer's room and help you out. But that's, to me, when I watched that, I just thought that was a lack of imagination.
He might be at JordanCon, so you may be able to make that pitch yourself. Whatchamacall? That was a critique that we had too on Moiraine not having so. On one hand, I like what they did with how they made them so wrong about stuff. Like the Aes Sedai specifically, Suan and Moiraine. Like, they're making it as if, they don't really fully understand. They think they understand, but they don't really fully understand what's going on, the scope of what's... Because they think this is the Dark One. They don't understand that the Dark One isn't a physical, is not a man or a woman or a person and doesn't wield Saidin or Saida. So she went into this thinking, oh, there's the Dark One. I'm talking to the Dark One right now. So I like that they did that because in the books it took until the fourth book to really knock the Aes Sedai off that pedestal that everyone really has them, including all the people. When you realize, the Aes Sedai don't know everything about channeling. They don't know, they don't know they know the histories that they were taught, that they heard, but those were also not entirely correct. I think they might be doing that a little fast right now. They're doing that right now, but I don't think they did a good enough job explaining to us as the viewers what they know or what they believe to be fact, and then showing us what is fact. Because I
think if you're gonna knock somebody off their pedestal, you got to put them up there.
Yeah, put them up there first. Yeah.
And I think again, I think that comes down again to okay, you got 8 episodes.
Yeah, you got 8 episodes.
Right?
It's not much.
And so you try to figure out how you want to structure that and how you want to pace it. And obviously, the TV pacing is going to be a little faster than pacing in novels. But I agree. I think that was a little fast. I think that would have been better served to be shown later on in season 2 or the beginning of season 3.
Yeah.
Because you have to be invested in that as an idea first before it has an impact by you kind of taking it away.
Yeah.
Because right now it's just okay, whatever, they weren't as smart as they said they were, but we aren't invested in them being that.
Especially because in the books, the Aes Sedai were they treated them like gods among.
Yeah, they're infallible.
People.
They were almost omnipotent.
Yeah, all of the people of the what they're calling the Westlands or Randland, all of the people of the incorporated countries, not the Aiel, even the Aiel to a point, almost worshipped the Aes Sedai, but the wise ones knew better. A little bit, felt that the Aes Sedai, if you were an Aes Sedai, that's it. That means you pretty much know everything. there's no question I could possibly have that you wouldn't know the answer to because you're an Aes Sedai. I never got that feeling. Even with the very first meeting, when Moiraine walked into the inn. Yep. First of all, everyone was everyone wasn't immediately in awe of just there being an Aes Sedai there. That was my major critique with the Two Rivers folks were they weren't small town enough. It was they felt a little too worldly, comparatively, and not even just comparing it. There was that setting is what drove the main characters forward and gave us that sense of awe and wonder that we got through the books that I just felt was lacking a little bit from them, then feeding onto us
Yeah, I didn't get that feeling either, because
yeah.
I was actually watching for that when she enters the end the first time, and I agree. I didn't get that sense that you get when you're reading. I mean, it's kind of like, imagine someone who is super famous who walks into your small town coffee shop.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a feeling that you get, right? And like you said, they were more like New Yorkers.
Yeah.
Than they were like a small town, right?
Yeah, they were like, oh, it's nice and out here.
Yeah. Oh, I been there, done that, seen it. Yeah.
Do we have any comments in the chat about this?
Let's see. Yeah, the Blues had should have the best intel, so they should be 4 or 5 steps ahead of everybody. Which Maureen in the books was, and I think they in the background in the show, she thought she was, but I don't think they, like I said, we needed to, and they had the opportunity, a scene to give us a little bit of backstory on what Suan and Maureen know, or what they think they know. Like, they're literally sitting in bed together. Like, when's the best time to share, pillow talk of like, here's what, okay, so what, you had a dream, or what was it about? Okay, here's what we did, here's what I found, I think it might be Ray, it could be Matt, like, this is when, but this prophecy said this, and oh yeah, remember this is what Guitar Morso is foretelling, what, like, that would have been the time to tell us what they think they know as fact. And I don't think they did a good enough job displaying to us what they thought they were supposed to be doing. Like, I get Maureen wanting to keep it under wraps from everyone else, but you need to tell us, like, who is the viewers, we need to know. And I felt like they didn't do enough telling us on that.
Yeah.
But
I was actually expecting, right when you're talking about, I was expecting a flashback and to get to see that actual thing.
Yes, that would have been amazing.
Of her in the ambulance office falling to the ground, and the whole thing. He is born. I thought we were going to get to see that scene, and I think that's a missed opportunity that we didn't.
Me too. Johnny in chat said that the Maureen scenes seems that a lot of information has been purged from the tower, which is that's a theme in the book too. Like, they do talk about that there was the Black Aja and Dark Friends did get to the White Tower. They to the libraries and corrupt some of the stuff there. They do find that later in the series. So yeah, I mean, they could just be introducing that type of idea a little earlier. I just don't think it's going to be as impactful as it was in the books, because again, we haven't been told what they
have all the knowledge. We haven't even been told about their library. We haven't been told about that they are the main knowledge center for the entire world because of thousands of years of documentation. Even, like, they've got the hard resources, and we don't know that.
Yeah. The only good way that they showed how old the knowledge that might be within the tower is when they showed the architecture from the Age of Legends, and it looked exactly like the White Tower. Like some of the architecture directly that is on the White Tower was on several of the buildings, not the same pieces on each building, but there was like, that same kind of pattern was on the White Tower, and this same kind of the way this building is built over here looks like this section of the White Tower. So they did that obviously very purposefully to show that the White Tower was built by people who had this type of knowledge. But they never mentioned the library. Like, the Tower Library is like the biggest library in the world almost. I think it was rivaled by the one in Karnheim, or I think, but that's that's besides the point. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest library in the world. Like, it's supposed, like, that's it. They don't do a good enough job putting that, like you said, Gerald, putting them up on the pedestal before they knock them off. They need to.
Yeah, I mean, you had the opportunity when Rand runs into Loyal. I mean, that should have happened in the Tower Library, right? Or whoever runs into him should have run into him at some point in the Tower Library and given you that opportunity to see all of that, and to, as Kitty was saying, to explain how far back this knowledge goes, and that they're in. You could have done that in a relatively short scene if you wrote it right. That could have communicated that.
Yeah. They could have even done it without seeing the library. They could have just had Loyal get 2 sentences
Yeah.
Like, because he had a book in his hand. He
Yeah.
could be like,
Oh,
I got this
I
from the library.
I
And
can't
it's
wait to go to the Tower Library. It has more books than anywhere else in the world. Like that's all he would
like,
have to
they've
do.
known
That's it.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Like 2 sentences.
Yeah. I did love, just as a little off topic, but it's loyal, so I have to say I loved when he showed up with Nynaeve, because he was just like, I saw a woman with a braid, and obviously that means it's someone you know. It was just like, I just loved it.
He was so proud of himself.
Yeah, he was so happy. Look, I found one. I found one of your people.
It's like a little Labrador retriever, like
Yeah.
bringing you a stick.
Yeah,
Like it was that type of vibe.
because he's so smart and worldly and big.
Yes.
and it looks like he should be like so wise and stuff, but at the same time he's a child, so he has like this child's
Wonder.
mentality, and it's so great, especially like the scene where like or the way he talks to Rand, you know, he's always like, oh, you humans are so hasty, or you know, the way he says things directly. Or he's like, you're an Aiel. Oh, you're an Aiel who doesn't know he's an Aiel. It's just hilarious. I just love that.
I did like his interaction with Moraine. I think that the deference and the respect, and that was a real quick and easy way that they did well of showing you know what their position is in the world, right? That even the Aes Sedai would bow to him and show him this kind of deference and respect. That
I like that she called him Builder too. She was like, Builder. Yeah. That was really cool. So we're gonna get ready to wrap up in a minute. We'll let chat. They're like a minute or like 30 or 40 seconds behind us. So I'm just gonna say, you know, if there's anything you want us to mention real quick before we leave, throw it up in chat, and we'll chew it around a little bit, spit it back and forth. We'll see what we can stick to the wall. Overall, I liked this first season. I think we all agree budgetary constraints need to be opened up a little bit, and I doubt we'll see more than 8 episodes. But I mean, who doesn't want more than 8 episodes? I would love to see 10, 12, 13 episodes. But I think overall, like, budget constraints, which, you know, isn't really on anyone really except Amazon, and episodic, you know, more episodes also really not on anyone but Amazon. I think the writing was great. I think the acting was great, and I can't wait to see what they do with some of this stuff in next season, especially with the horn. I can't. Oh, Patton Fane too, by the way, love that guy. That last scene when he's sitting on that chair with the box and he does his little exposition. That man he's like, I feel like I don't think I'll be able to ever even look at that actor again without getting creeped out. Like he's so good.
It was, so my husband's a non-reader, and he didn't know that Patton Fane was bad. And like he knew there was something because he picked up on like the whistling and like, oh, you know, like maybe he's gonna be no. It kind of broke his heart a little bit because he wanted him to be good. And it was just, I love the fact that I am watching with a non-reader, because he's coming into this with nothing. I mean, he knew a couple things because obviously me, but the absolute, he did try. He's like, Patton Fane is bad, and I was like, I know, sweetie.
It's okay.
We're just starting to.
Yeah, wait till later. We'll really break your heart.
Yeah.
I think one of the other portrayals that I did really like was Tom.
Yeah.
I think that was that actor did a really good job.
He has a great voice too.
And I thought, you know, that we were talking about costuming earlier, I thought that was an interesting way of approaching his many-colored robe by having it be the lining on his coat. I'm like, okay, I can roll with that. Yeah,
I think honestly, someone called him a medieval Mick Jagger.
I like it.
I like it. I think when we see Bard Tom, we might get that more flamboyant,
Flourishes.
version of Tom Merrill.
What if the coat is reversible?
That's what I was gonna say. That's exactly what I was gonna say. That that coat might get flipped around, and it'll be. That's when we'll really see like the flamboyance. He was playing to the crowd, so like the crowd is a small town, inn. So like you're not gonna give high chant to like that. Like that's not what they want. So. I think that's what we'll see. On that note, though, I think we covered a lot there, right? Yeah. I mean, Gerald, real quick before we go, tell everyone who you are again and where they can find your stuff and stuff like that, because I'm bad at plugging people.
Well, let me say thank you, Tom, for inviting me. Kitty,
Absolutely.
Thank you for hosting me. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Gerald L. Coleman. I use the L so that when you Google me, you don't get the Catholic priest or the professional hockey player. I am neither of those people. You can find me at geraldlcoleman.com. And you can see me at JordanCon in a couple of months.
Yeah. Oh man, don't remind me how soon it's coming. I got so much work to do.
So fast.
You and me both, brother. You
yeah,
and me both. I would be furiously at my computer right now if I wasn't on here. But yeah, deadlines.
And we are Dragonmount, so make sure to check out all of our YouTubes, and we got a new episode of the podcast coming out. There's some cast interviews on there with actually Hamed Animashon, who plays Loyal, and Taylor Napier, who plays what's Alana's warrior's name? Crap.
I don't know. The snack bringer?
Yeah.
Oh no, that's just what I'm calling him.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, that's who it is. Oh man, I'm terrible. I'm a terrible person. Everybody, hi, my name's Tom. I'm a terrible person. But his real name is Taylor Napier, so I remember that.
No, man, listen, there are so many characters to keep up with in the Wheel of Time. Come on.
Oh yeah, there's over
That's like-
2,700 named characters.
Yeah.
Well,
So, hey.
Kathy had the great opportunity to interview both of them. Taylor's amazing, and I love him, and so is Hamed. They were both fantastic. Hamed let us know what his favorite and least favorite part of wearing the Loyal costume was. So go check out the interview for that. You got a lot of big thanks from the chat, Gerald, for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Make sure to go check out JordanCon.com or JordanCon.org for the next.
And we'll see you in April.